What if a Spinosaurus suddenly appeared in the modern Amazon? Could it kill its way through the food chain and reclaim dominance? Beneath tree roots beside a blackwater channel, a gray-green egg cracks open. A slender striped snout pushes through, forelimbs twice as long as any native caiman's. This is a newly hatched Spinosaurus, and it barely gets a first breath before torrential rain sweeps the eggshell into the current. Warm, acidic water floods its nostrils, its unused lungs burning, until it drags itself onto a piece of submerged wood, too exhausted to even shiver through its first night. By dawn, hunger beats fear. It lowers its snout into the blackwater, lunges at a school of piranhas, and gets nothing but a mouthful of mud. After repeated failures, it changes tactics, burying itself in mud, only nostrils and eyes exposed, waiting for a straggling fish to drift close before striking upward through its belly. Its first real meal, and almost immediately, the water shifts as an adult black caiman glides past, 10 times its size, giving it one single glance that's enough. The hatchling retreats deep into the roots, learning lesson 1. If you can't hide, you're finished. 3 months later, having doubled in length, the crevices no longer conceal it. So it moves toward the main channel, where snakehead fish flick themselves out of reach, and other prey vanish into mud faster than it can dive. After 4 days without food, it changes strategy again, wedging itself into a submerged tree canopy and dropping down onto a surfacing snakehead from above. When the rainy season floods the forest, it swims through submerged thickets full of unfamiliar prey and unfamiliar killers it's never had to face before. A green anaconda loosens itself off a submerged vine, and before it can react, the snake has already wrapped around its hind leg and the base of its tail, its ribs creaking audibly under the growing pressure. It twists around and bites into the anaconda's flank. Not a fatal wound, but enough to loosen the grip just long enough to tear free and scramble through the vegetation into shallow water. A ring of scale-shaped pressure marks left behind on its leg, limping for 2 full weeks afterward. Lesson 3. In the Amazon, danger isn't just teeth and hunger. It's also constrictors powerful enough to crush bone. A year later, now 4 meters long, the black caimans no longer see it as prey, but not as one of their own either. They share the same pool, keeping to their own halves. During the dry season, as the river fractures into isolated pools and fish grow scarce in its section, an adult jaguar appears across the bank, staring at the shrinking water. When it raises its snout, the jaguar's ears turn toward it. The two lock eyes across 10 meters of shallow water, until the jaguar simply yawns, lies down on a rock, and taps its tail against the surface. A clear, non-negotiable signal. It sinks back into the blackwater instead of coming ashore. Lesson 4. Never violate the rules of the land. By age 3, nearly 7 meters long, black caimans voluntarily give up the deep pools when its sail spreads, and even large snakeheads no longer satisfy it. So it starts hunting Amazonian manatees. During one chase into unfamiliar water, a high-frequency pulse jolts through its snout like needles. An electric eel hidden in the riverbed. Its whole forelimb goes numb instantly, and it thrashes wildly, biting the eel in half. But those 30 seconds of paralysis nearly drown it in its own hunting ground. Lesson 5. This water holds weapons you can't even see. By 5 years old, at 10 meters, it's the largest living thing in the basin. Caimans retreat downstream. Anacondas change course at its scent. Even jaguars stop drinking on its stretch of bank. But needing to eat roughly a caiman's weight in meat daily, with no giant slow fish or scattered carrion to sustain it, it's forced to move constantly, stripping one area bare before moving to the next. By its 6th autumn, it reaches unfamiliar water tasting of salt. The edge of the Amazon estuary, where river meets ocean. A pod of river dolphins passes by, one turning to whistle at it, and it simply watches them vanish into the shimmering boundary, rather than give chase. Not from lack of will, but because that water is colder and saltier than it can survive, with nothing to grab onto if it goes wrong. Its final lesson: some waters were never meant to be his. The Spinosaurus never truly conquered the Amazon's food chain. Even at that size, it beat black caimans, dodged anacondas, could terrify jaguars on land, and swallowed entire schools of fish underwater. But it never became king of these waters. Not from any lack of strength, but because the real rule governing this ecosystem was never about who could kill whom. It was about who could survive on the least. It simply ate too much. From the very moment it hatched, it had unknowingly signed an impossible contract with this world. Stay alive by constantly consuming everything around it, in a river that could never provide quite enough to sustain something its size. In the end, it lost, not to any rival predator, but to its own relentless appetite.